Hi everyone, it's Nicole here, the Harmonious Hippy. I hope you're all doing very well today. Today's video is going to be the next in our chakra series, which is the throat chakra. I personally really resonate with this chakra. I'm always really drawn to blues, certain crystals that are related to the throat chakra. So I'm not sure if that means that I have an expressive throat chakra or if it means I need balance, but it does relate to communication and that kind of thing. So I think I do pretty well on that, so maybe it's just my favorite. Just to give you guys some info on the throat chakra, it's known as the Vishuddha Chakra in Sanskrit, and the color for the throat chakra is blue. The chant for the throat chakra is Hum, H-A-M, and of course, as I mentioned before, this is related to self-expression, communication, and truth. If you have an unbalanced throat chakra, it's going to look like throat and vocal issues, issues with your teeth and your gums, your mouth, being maybe a little bit gossipy, trouble speaking your mind, speaking without thinking, all of that kind of stuff that's related to expression. Whether it is self-expression, you can't really get out what you're trying to say, or maybe you're speaking quite negatively about yourself or about others. So it is related a lot to your communication and how comfortable you feel communicating. So it's something that's really important, I think, to make sure that it is nice and balanced. So it's going to involve some back bending, stuff like that. So do make sure that you are keeping your neck safe today. If you are having troubles with your neck, then please maybe avoid this one for a little bit until that's feeling a little bit better. And as always, just move at your own pace and make sure that you're doing what feels good for you in that moment. So if you would like, you can go throw on some blue clothes. I have some blue crystals here with me. I didn't have a blue candle, so I just have a white one today. We don't need any props today, so you just need your mat. Maybe if you have something that you'd like to put under your knees in tabletop and stuff like that, just grab that. I have my little squishy mat here. Maybe you want a water or tea with you. Otherwise, no props at all, just yourself. And let's get started. Okay, everyone, so just starting off seated, I would also like to note that I'm using a new mic today, so you don't have to hear the cats running amok in the house, hopefully. It's going to just focus the sound more on just my voice and remove the ambient sounds. So do let me know if it sounds good, if you need it a little louder. Just let me know your thoughts on the mic. I'm going to try to avoid hitting it and making muffled sounds and that kind of thing. I've got it clipped to me here, so hopefully I don't get tangled up, but we'll see how this goes. So that aside, we are going to start with our seated meditation. If you would like, as always, to come to a couch, a chair to start this off, you can go ahead and do that. Alternatively, you can come to a cross-legged position on the floor. If you would like to grab a block to sit on, that is a great idea. It gives you that nice anterior tilt to the pelvis. You want to have the knees tracking either in line with the hips or below the hips. Obviously, I'm saying that as a complete hypocrite here with my one janky leg. I'm still having ankle issues, so I've got that rolled up under here. That's why this knee is so high. But for you, I would love it if you would come to some pillows or a block just to make sure that you're seated up nice and high, getting that tilt to the pelvis, sitting nice and comfortably. We're not going to be here for too long, just having our usual meditation. So you can have your palms face down on the knees for grounding. If we're trying to maybe help ourselves with our communication, with letting stuff go, letting stuff out, perhaps palms face up for receiving. That kind of thing is going to feel more like it's resonating with you today. And just closing down the eyes, growing up nice and tall through the crown of the head. Perhaps you noticed that my crown of my head is quite high today with this bun. We had a carnival in the Cayman Islands this past weekend, so I've still got my braid in. And just beginning to bring the breath in and out through the nose. Bringing the attention to the space that you're in right now. And we can do this utilizing the senses. So noticing the colors or the lights behind your closed eyelids. Noticing any sounds in the vicinity, perhaps the sound of my voice. Maybe you can hear family members or pets off in the distance in the house. And throughout this practice, I invite you to observe these sounds, anything that might draw your attention. If your mind goes there, just allowing that to happen, and then always just bringing it back to your body, to your breath. Observing the taste of the tongue and the mouth. The smells. Maybe you have a candle lit near you. Perhaps someone's cooking dinner. And just noticing how the air feels on your skin. Perhaps like me, you have a fan blowing and you can feel the air brushing against you. Maybe you've got some heat on in your house. Feeling the weight of the body pressing down into your seat, the weight of the hands on the knees. Just feeling where you are in space, present in this moment in your body. And just quickly observing what the body feels like, noticing if there's anywhere that's holding a particular amount of tension, if you're feeling a lot of sensation somewhere. And as always, just noticing that and then moving on, not getting stuck with your attention anywhere. You just want to have an idea of where your body's coming from today. And as always, beginning to tune into the breath, observing as it flows in and out. Cool air flowing in through the nose, and the warm air flowing out. Feeling the belly expand on your inhale, and contracting on the exhale. Noticing if you're holding any tension, it's unnecessary in this moment, that you can just release. Perhaps your shoulders have crept up towards the ears. Maybe you're frowning slightly or clenching the jaw. Without judgment, just let that go. Breathing in and out. And just taking a moment to set an intention for yourself with this practice today. Perhaps something like getting movement in, taking time for yourself. Perhaps it is something that's more directly related to our theme today, our throat chakra. Perhaps you have something that you need to say. Maybe you have a tough conversation that you need to have, and you're feeling like you're not ready, or you don't know what the words will be. Perhaps you need to just let that go. Let go of the idea that every word needs to be planned out and exact. Perhaps with this practice, you can feel safe and comfortable knowing that the words will come to you. People will understand you. Taking a few cleansing breaths here before we get moving again. So taking a deep inhale through the nose. And with sound, exhaling that out. Twice more, inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh. Last one, deep inhale through the nose. Letting it go. Beginning to blink the eyes open. We're going to bring some movement into the body, doing the Sufi grind. So beginning to rotate the upper body around. If you're seated on a couch or a chair, this is a good time to come down, or sitting off. if you're sitting on a prop, if I could speak, it's a good time to come down and sit flat on your bottom just so that you can really move into the hips without feeling like you're unbalanced and feeling like you're going to fall off of your props. So just getting comfortable. And as always, these circles can be as big or as small as you feel comfortable with today. Perhaps you're feeling quite contained, or maybe you really want to get the whole body moving here. You can start to bring the shoulders and the head into this movement, really exaggerating these circles. Or not. Whatever works for you, whatever's the most comfortable for you, as always. When the time feels right, just switching directions. Working some movement into the hip flexors, into the spine, the lower back. And as always, just making sure that you are breathing in and out through the nose. And just slowly making smaller movements until you come back to stillness. Just going to stretch out the neck here. So dropping the hands down to the ground, perhaps tenting the fingers if that's comfortable. We're just going to drop our left ear to the left shoulder. And noticing immediately if this left shoulder has risen up to the ear, just relax that down. Keep the shoulders nice and relaxed. If it feels good, you can start to creep the fingers away on the right hand, maybe floating them up into the air, really feeling that stretch across the side of the neck, perhaps down into the upper shoulder. And just playing around with some movement, perhaps tilting the chin down, feeling the stretch moving into the back of the neck. Maybe lifting the chin slightly and feeling as the stretch moves around. And just moving slowly, noticing where you feel the most tension, where it feels the best to release the stress in the neck. Pausing there or continuing to slowly just move the neck around. As always, when we're moving with the neck, we want to make sure that we are moving very slowly and carefully, mindfully. There are a lot of tiny little tendons and muscles in the neck, so we do want to make sure that we're not using jarring movements ever. Continuing to breathe, always checking in with the jaw. Is it clenched? Maybe creating some space between the molars. And slowly, slowly dropping the chin to the chest and rolling the neck around. Try not to whack the mic here. That would be shocking. And rolling over to the other side, so the right ear is on the right shoulder. Again, dropping the shoulders down, perhaps creeping the fingers of the left hand away, maybe up into the air, feeling that strong stretch across the neck, down into the shoulder. Again, perhaps tilting the chin down, noticing that stretch across the back of the neck. Maybe tilting the chin up, releasing any tension in the jaw, the forehead, releasing the shoulders down, allowing that stretch to be held for a while, just to really let the neck ease into this stretch. And then very slowly beginning to drop the gaze, chin to chest, rolling up to the other shoulder, just doing some neck rolls here. Personally, I like to do half circles. They're not great as I'm trying not to smack the mic with my chin, but you get the idea. If you feel comfortable with your neck and you have no pain, you can feel free to drop the head back and do full circles. But if you do have some sensitivity in the neck, please just keep the neck forward instead of rolling all the way around. And you can pause wherever you feel some sensation, some stretch that feels good. Just getting that motion in the neck, nice and slow and easy. And then rolling the shoulders up and back, up and back. We're going to roll over into tabletop position. So if you do have something to place under your knees, you can grab that. I'm going to throw that aside. And as always with our tabletop, we want to ensure that the shoulders are stacked above the wrists and that the knees are stacked under the hips. So just relaxing here for a second, setting up your stable base here. So tucking in the core slightly. It's hard to see with my shirt probably, but lightly tucking the core, engaging, making sure you're not sinking in the back. This is our tabletop, our neutral spine gazes down so that the neck is nice and long. From here, we're going to come into, I'm not sure with the mic if you can still hear the cats, but they are fighting. All right, they don't need to release their throat chakras. They can communicate well and good. So with our inhales, as we come into our cow, we're going to tilt the tailbone up towards the sky, dropping the belly, breathing deep into the belly. Perhaps the gaze lifts up, opening across the chest. And with our exhale, squeezing navel to spine, chin to chest, pressing the floor away, pressing through the hands to really peel the scapula apart. Those are the chicken wings. Pull those apart. Inhale, dropping the belly. And exhale, squeezing navel to spine, pressing into the upper back. Just flowing with your own breath through a few of these. But really noticing if you're rushing them or if you're really squeezing out every bit of breath that you have. Really deeply inhaling and expanding the belly. Getting that movement in the spine, in the neck, and in the shoulders. And just slowly coming back to a neutral spine. We're going to come into puppy pose here. So trying to keep the hips lined up above the knees. We're going to start to sink down, perhaps coming to our sphinx arms, our forearms here. Maybe starting to creep the hands out in front of us. Now, I'm hoping that I don't hit the mic here, so let me know if this sounds awful for y'all. But just starting to sink forward. When you reach a point that you can perhaps place the chest on the ground, that's when you can tilt the chin up and place the chin on the ground. If your chest hasn't hit the floor, please, just like a child's pose, keep the forehead on the mat, or you can bring a block under you if you would like as well. So just breathing in that position. Hips come up tall. Feeling the stretch across the shoulders. Breathing in and out. And slowly crawling back up onto our knees. We're going to come up onto our knees here like I am. Stick my mic back on. Hopefully that worked. We're going to come into camel pose here. So again, opening across the chest, opening across the throat, our common theme for today. So lining up the hips over top of the knees, we're going to tuck the tailbone. My cats are absolutely out of control. I don't know what to tell you. I really hope you can't hear that. Today is the day to have the mic. They are insane right now. So rolling the shoulders back, we're going to think of bringing the elbows towards each other. So placing the hands, the palms, if you will, on the tops of your bum, right beside your tailbone, And think of squeezing your elbows towards each other as if you have a pencil in between your shoulder blades and you're squeezing that in, engaging the core, tucking the tailbone, and just slowly beginning to curve the upper back. Noticing if you're sinking back with your bum, you want to press your hips forward, perhaps dropping the neck back into our baby camel. If you'd like to come into full camel, you can release one hand down, reach for the heel, perhaps the other hand. It always takes me a minute to get both hands back, so perhaps you notice the same thing. It's quite an intense stretch. So, oh, there we go. Once you have both heels, if you do, pressing the hips forward, releasing the neck back if that feels comfortable. Otherwise, chin to chest. Really feeling that stretch across the chest, across the belly. And when you're ready to come back up, engaging the core, slowly rising up. Head comes up and then just sitting back onto your heels for a moment. And then we're going to open the knees out wide. As wide as the mat or wider, whatever is most comfortable. Sinking the tailbone back towards the heels, stretching the arms ahead of you, and forehead comes to the mat in your child's pose. Releasing here, breathing. Perhaps rocking the head side to side, releasing any tension on the mat. This is always a great place to come to throughout your practice if you feel that you need to catch your breath. And there's absolutely no judgment or shame in that. If you're ever in a practice where you're feeling out of breath, you're feeling overwhelmed, please always just come down to your child's pose. The only, I can't think of the word now, but the only time you wouldn't do that is if you're in a hot yoga class, because that will hold the heat in your core. So you would want to come to a shavasana position, something on your back, so that you're not holding too much heat in towards you. But otherwise, always know that this is a safe pose to come to. There's no yoga teacher that's ever going to come up and yell at you for taking a child's pose. So you're always safe to come into this position. And releasing back up slowly. We're going to come into lion pose or lion breath. These cats, you guys, I don't know what they do all day. I swear they nap so that they can wait for yoga video time, and that's when they go crazy. So we're going to open our knees out. I'll show you the position initially with the legs, but I might have to move because of my ankle. So we're going to sit with the knees wide as if we were in a child's pose. Toes together, knees wide. We're going to bring our palms down as if we're stretching the wrists. If this is uncomfortable for you, you can always just have regular facing fingers. It's a very weird way to word that, but you got it. Or you can twist them back and get the nice stretch here. Now, notice what's happening with your lower back and your belly. As always, we want to make sure that we are being mindful of the body, that we are engaging what needs to be engaged. So this is not just a little, splat rest pose here. We do want to slightly tuck the tailbone, engage the core slightly, so we're not just sinking. We also want to make sure that the shoulders are nice and relaxed down, away from the ears. We don't want to be sunk into the shoulders, so pressing into the hands. And we're going to take 3 breaths with our lion breath. So what the lion breath is, you're going to feel real silly, but you know what? You're probably doing this video in the comfort of your own home. So I ask you, who is there to laugh at you other than yourself? And if you can't laugh at yourself, then what do we have? Okay, come on, y'all. So we're going to take a deep inhale with our exhale as if we're a lion trying to roar from the back of the throat. We're going to stick our tongue right out. You heard me correctly. We're going to go, ah. Yes, it's crazy, but we all look crazy together. Unless you don't do it and you're just judging the rest of us, then that's not cool. So taking a deep inhale, and we're going to really press into the hands when we exhale, really let it out. So deep inhale through the nose. Exhale. Fabulous. Let's do that twice more. Last one. Deep inhale through the nose. Maybe smiling, maybe laughing, rolling over. We're going to sit back onto our bums for a moment while we do another breathwork exercise. This is called the Sitali breath. The Sitali breath is very good for a cooling, calming kind of breath. It's nothing like Kapalabhati, breath of fire. It's not going to work you up and kind of heat you up. It's very calming. Again, it feels a little weird. And when you're not used to it, because it is slightly restricted, you're going to feel like you can't get enough air. Totally fine if you hit a stage where you feel like I just need to breathe normal. Go ahead and do that. These breathing techniques are always guided, but if you need to breathe, breathe, please. Do not just be, choking yourself. So what we're going to do is we are going to roll our tongues. If you can't roll your tongue, maybe using the fingers to help you and then holding it with your teeth. So we're going to make a little sausage roll with our tongues. And all you're going to do is inhale and exhale through your little tongue straw that you've made. That sounds disgusting, doesn't it? So we're just going to take a few breaths and try and really lengthen and relax. So use this breath as a calming thing. Sometimes when we do have any sort of restriction, for example, breathing through a tongue or a straw or something like that, alternate nostril breathing, only breathing through one nostril, we can kind of start to panic almost. So just viewing this as something that is really directing the air in and out and really cooling it down, relaxing the body. And really focus on the feeling of the air flowing through the throat. As we're trying to release our throat chakra, we really want to do things that are going to release the throat, lubricate that so that we can have the proper communication and all of those things that I previously mentioned. So now, 3 hours later, let's go ahead and try it. So roll your tongue up into its little just sausage roll, and then just breathe nice and slow in and out through the tongue. So beginning, we can take a normal deep breath in, exhale it out, rolling up your tongue and beginning the Sitali breath. Really focusing on bringing that cool air into the throat. Your tongue might start to feel quite dry, just continuing the breath. Just a few more here. Noticing if on your inhale you really are tensing the tongue, this is going to cause further restriction. So trying to just really relax that. I find if I focus my attention on the back of the throat instead of on the tongue where the air is coming through, I am more relaxed naturally with my tongue. So just focus on the throat region instead of the tongue so you don't tense that all up. Completing your last exhale. And we are going to roll back over into our tabletop position here. I'm going to remove my prop since we are not staying here long. Sorry, I got to keep my pants up. We're going to press into the palms of the hands, curling the toes under. Let's slowly start to lift the hips and come into our downward facing dog. You can pedal out the feet, maybe rocking side to side, whatever movement you need to take to make this pose nice and comfortable. I like to wag my tail. And from here, we're going to come up onto the tippy toes And just walk the feet towards the hands, hanging forward, releasing the neck. And then bending the knees, slowly rolling up. And rolling the shoulders up and back. We're going to come through one sun salutation here. We're going to do Surya Namaskar A. So hands come to heart center. We're in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. Again, tucking the tailbone, engaging in the core slightly, nice and open across the chest. Inhale, sweeping the arms up overhead, palms to touch. Perhaps taking a little back bend here. Exhale, swan diving forward into our forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift, nice flat back. Exhale, fold, planting the hands, stepping or hopping back to our high plank. You can drop the knees here or come through chaturanga, sweeping up into your upward facing dog or your baby cobra, and pressing the hips up high, pressing back into our downward facing dog. Take a breath here, release the neck. Inhale, gazing up at the thumbs and stepping or hopping to the top of the mat into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then slowly sweeping the arms up overhead, palms to touch. And exhale, hands come to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Now we are going to move into a balancing pose. I am sorry, y'all, I can't keep my pants up. They need to make yoga suspenders a thing. All right, we're going to move into a balancing pose. This is called hand to foot balance. There's a few different names for it. So we're going to, like we would with tree pose, bring our balance into one foot. As always, we don't want to sink into our hip. We want to just incrementally move all of our weight into that one foot. Perhaps the other foot floats. And you can do this on either side. We're going to start to bring the knee up, just nice and casual, little movements to fix yourself if you feel like you're falling. When you start to make big adjustments, that's when you're going to really lose your balance. Hands can be on the hips. We're going to reach one hand down to perhaps pistol grip the big toe. And you can stay like this, perhaps working on opening the hip. You can also grab onto the foot. If you would like to use a strap, you can go ahead and do that. And we're just going to start to kick our heel out in front of us. So beginning to straighten that leg and dropping the hip. Make sure you're not nice. I'm saying it's a bad thing and I'm calling it nice. Make sure you're not sweeping the hip open. We really want to keep this contained. We want to keep the hips level. And that's what's going to really stretch into the hamstring. If you do need to keep the foot bent, that's fine, whatever your hamstring feels. Again, if you do want to grab a strap, you can use a towel, a tie for your robe. There are so many things that work for this. So just make it comfortable for you. If this just isn't happening for you today, you can always sit on the ground and stretch the hamstrings. So just kicking that heel forward, pulling the toes back towards the face. And then if you would like, you can open the hip to the side. Now watch again with this. If you're twisting to the side, we want to make sure that we keep our hip joints pointing forward while we open the leg out to the side. So while I consult my notes, please try that. Perfect. The notes are clear. We must do the other side. So beginning to bring our weight into the other foot. Always got to try both sides. Maybe one's really easy. Maybe one feels terrible. Totally fine, but you still got to do it. Sorry, guys. Them's the rules. Lifting that knee. Making sure you're nice and stable in each stage instead of trying to immediately come to the final position. So reaching down, maybe grabbing a strap, maybe pistol gripping that front toe, beginning to rise up. Maybe you just want to open the hip here, or kicking the heel forward. Perhaps when you're ready, you want to open the leg out to the side. That was my hip that just cracked. Don't worry about it. And then releasing that down, wiggling that out. And we are going to come back down to the ground nice and slow. So just coming into our nice forward fold so you can face the front of the mat again. We're just going to Sink down. You can really bend into the knees here if that's comfortable for you. Hands can come to the floor, or you can reach for opposite elbows. Maybe rocking side to side. Really releasing the hamstrings here. Breathing as always, bending into the knees if you need to. And we're just going to plant the hands here and step back to our downward facing dog. Opening the hips here. You guys, this shirt just does not want to be on me. What on earth? So perhaps your clothes are falling off. Try and focus on the yoga. We're going to plant our weight into one foot, sweeping the other leg up and opening the hip, coming into our three-legged dog, bringing the heel towards the bum, making sure that you have equal pressure in the hands here, and just giving that hip a nice rotate a couple times in one direction, maybe the other, really releasing that hip, and then stepping forward with that leg. So how we do this is that we really want to squeeze into the core, and we want to pull that knee up high as we step it in between the hands. So just takes work. It can be quite difficult to try and do that. Sometimes you feel like your arms aren't long enough, but we'll get there. So we're in our high lunge now. We're going to drop that back knee, untuck the toes, and now we are in our low lunge. So we can lift our arms up overhead, pressing forward into that hip flexor, perhaps gazing up, ensuring when we're in lunges of any form that our knee is lined up over our ankle joint. If your knee extends past your ankle, you want to just wiggle your foot forward a little bit. Releasing the hands down, we're going to come into our lizard pose here. So wiggling our foot, our front foot, out to the side so that both of our hands can come on the inside of that foot. If you'd like to grab a block here, you can go ahead and do that. But just sinking into that hip flexor. I personally like it to rotate my foot out at a 45-degree angle. That really helps me get into the hip. Maybe you want to roll onto the outside blade of the foot, really opening into that hip, that knee. As always, you can bring a prop under your knee if that's feeling uncomfortable. You can grab a block and bring the elbows down. If your hips are super open, you might already have your elbows on the ground. Wherever you're at, just releasing into that hip, breathing deeply. I know you're probably thinking, throat chakra, why are we releasing our hips? Well, you hold a lot of emotion in your hips, tension, slowly coming back up out of the lizard pose. So we want to make sure that we're releasing any tension that we might have so that we are able to release emotions, communicate, etc. So just sinking into that low lunge, hip forward, and then we're going to exhale and slowly sink the tailbone back, flexing the front toes up towards the ceiling so that we feel that nice stretch in the back of the hamstring. So we really want to make sure that that's the first thing we feel. You don't want to be coming all the way back and dragging the heel back. So really just lifting the heel. That's the motion that we want to make. And then we're going to inhale, grow tall. Exhale, bringing the chin to the shin so that you're staying nice and straight in the spine instead of just curling right over. Feeling that stretch in the back of the leg, maybe even in the calf. Inhaling forward into your low lunge, feeling that stretch in the hip flexor. And exhaling back into your Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. See y'all, you're in a half split. Well done. Perhaps windshield wipering the foot side to side. See how that feels if it really intensifies the stretch. If a full monkey pose is in your practice, you can go ahead and come into that. So that's full split, sinking that front leg forward. We want to keep the toes flexed and always practicing both sides. For me, this side is a lot. So I can't come quite fully down on this side. So you really have to make sure that you're equally training both sides. One side will likely be more flexible than the other, and that's okay. Just as long as you make sure that you are practicing on both sides to sort of even out the expression on the body. If you're in your full split, just slowly creeping that heel back up. We're all meeting in Anjaneyasana, low lunge. We're going to curl the toes under, lift up into our high lunge, planting the hands, lifting that foot high back into our three-legged dog, and placing that down. We're going to now lift the other leg, opening the hip, so bringing the heel to the bum, equal pressure in the hands here, maybe rotating the knee one way and then the other, really opening that hip up nice and juicy. And then squeezing into the belly. We're going to step that hand up. Oh, I apologize, our foot up in between our hands. You guys know how I am, okay? We get upside down and I have no clue what the anatomy is. So we are in our high lunge, sinking forward. I'm losing my mic here. Alrighty, hands on either side of the foot. We're going to drop the knee, release the toes, coming into our high lunge or low lunge, apologies. Lifting the arms up overhead, sinking into that hip flexor in the front. Again, checking in with the knee and the ankle, making sure those are lined up. Breathing here. Exhaling the hands down on either side. We're going to scooch that foot open so that we can bring both of our hands on the inside of the foot, coming into our lizard pose. So again, if you'd like a block, you can grab that. I like to angle my foot out at a 45-degree angle so I can really sink into that hip. If this is really hard on your back knee, you can press into the top of the foot to lift the knee up and replace it back down. Sometimes that helps to move into a less painful spot. Perhaps sinking down onto the elbows on a block or the floor. And again, just breathing here, really sending the breath into the hip flexor, into the glute. Releasing that tension, noticing if the mind starts to really get busy when you're in a position like this. Slowly coming back up, wiggling that foot back into the middle, into our Anjaneyasana low lunge, and then sinking the hips back, pointing the toes at the ceiling, coming into our half split. Chin comes towards the shin here, feeling that stretch in the back of the leg, breathing into that. Inhaling forward into our low lunge. And then exhaling back, half split. Hanumanasana. And then if you have full split in your practice, you can start to sink that foot forward. Again, keeping the toes flexed up. This is going to really create the stretch in the hamstring and in the calf. I always want to call it the quad. What is wrong with me? Breathing here. If you also would like to try your full split, you can bring blocks to either side of you to bring the ground a little bit closer. Just always moving very carefully. If you're in your full split, just slowly bringing that back up. We're going to meet in our Anjaneyasana low lunge. And tucking the back toes, coming up off that back knee, planting the hands and kicking that foot back, three-legged dog, and placing that down, down dog. We're going to bring the knees to the ground and just come to a seated position. My word, these clothes are just not having it today. Ooh, all right. We are seated. We're going to come into some seated twists here. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. I like to just kind of rock a little bit just to make sure I'm nice and up on my sit bones. Just try not to pull out your bum flesh, because that is going to leave you sitting just on the connection of your hamstring, and that's going to be a little bit, it's going to cause some tension, especially over time. If you tend to sit in chairs right on your hamstring, it's going to cause a lot of sensation up at the top of your hamstring. So we're seated nice and tall. If this is really hard for you, you feel like you have to hold on for dear life or you're going to fall over, please just come to sit on a pillow or a block, just to make sure, again, that you have that anterior tilt to the pelvis. So we are here. We're going to come into some twists. So we are going to inhale, whichever arm you'd like to start with, back behind you, taking that front hand and just placing it around the knee. You can bring the back of the hand to the knee, or you can always just use the palm to pull you around. But as always, we don't want to torque ourselves too much. We sort of want to come to our natural level and maybe use the hands to help us slightly. So inhaling up nice and tall, exhaling to help you twist, tucking the chin slightly to protect the neck, gazing over that back shoulder. Breathing here. Noticing if you're really sinking back into that back hand, try and pull yourself up and try even lifting that back hand just to make sure that you aren't relying solely on that. Twisting from the trunk, you want to twist the core. Inhales create space and exhales perhaps twist you deeper. Again, utilizing the core and the hands, we don't want to use our neck to twist us. So always just having that chin slightly tucked so that we're not straining in the neck. Inhaling the head back to center, followed by the body. We're going to twist to the other side. So arm up nice and tall, exhaling it behind you, bringing either the back of the hand around the knee or holding on with your palm, whatever is the most comfortable. Inhale up nice and tall, and exhale, twisting to gaze over that back shoulder, tucking the chin, breathing into the belly here. Again, inhaling to create space. Exhales to twist you deeper, wringing out the spine. And inhaling the head back to center, followed by the body, just giving yourself a little rock side to side here. And then holding on the ankles or the shins. Really growing up nice and tall. We're going to protract the chin as if we're painting, keeping the back nice and flat as we come over our legs. Keeping the back flat is going to ensure that we are hinging at the hip and coming over nice and straight instead of just sinking the upper body down. So we're really stretching into the hip here. So growing up nice and tall and then hinging from the hip. Keep your back straight for as long as you can. Once you hit that wall, inhale and then exhale, release, dropping the head, relaxing the body down. Getting some kitten kisses if you have a kitty around. Making sure she stays away from the candle, you know, all those fun things. Releasing the body down. And slowly beginning to come back up. We're going to plant the hands behind us and just windshield wiper the knees, releasing the hips, releasing the lower back, and just planting one foot at an angle behind you, the other one in front. We're just going to take the same hand as the front leg, place it behind you, and we're just going to sweep ourselves up kind of into a mini wild thing, or like a half of a camel kind of situation. So you want to bring the arm around, rolling up onto the knees, pressing the hips forward. You can drop the arm back behind the head if it feels safe for the neck, dropping the head, pressing the hips forward, and then sinking back down, rearranging the legs to do that on the other side. Just doing a nice little dance move here. So planting that hand behind you and sweeping up, pressing the hips forward, sinking the arm back, nice and open across the chest, and releasing that back down. Beautiful, beautiful dancing. We are going to roll down onto our backs now, coming into our bridge pose. So laying on your back, bringing the knees up, planting the feet flat on the floor. You can wiggle the feet a little bit closer so you can perhaps brush the heels with your hands. Notice when you come up into your bridge pose if this feels really uncomfortable. Depending on your anatomy, you may need to step your feet a little bit away. I like to tuck my shoulder blades under, palms face down, and with our bridge, we're going to inhale, engaging the core, pulling the hips up, squeezing the glutes, really pushing the pelvis up high, holding this bridge pose here. Breathing, squeezing the hips up maybe a tiny bit higher, and then coming up onto the toes, we're going to roll the spine back down nice and slow. Once more, pressing into the feet, pressing into the hands, squeezing the glutes, pulling the hips up nice and high. If you would like, you can clasp the hands underneath you. Really squeezing the shoulders together. Squeeze the hips a little bit higher. And up on the toes, slowly releasing the spine back down. Taking a moment here. We're going to do one more. There's an option here to come into your full wheel if that's in your practice. I am going to attempt it just to show you, but I have nails on right now, so that might not work out. In any case, if you're not ready for full wheel, if it doesn't feel comfortable for you today, leaving the ego aside, perhaps you can do wheel every day, but today you're feeling a little unsteady with it. Don't try it if you don't feel like it. There's no ego at all here. So if you feel that you can't do it today, that doesn't mean you can't do it tomorrow. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That doesn't mean you're a bad yogi. There's no such thing as a bad yogi, unless you're hateful. So if you're coming into your full wheel, bringing the palms flat on the ground, I like to come up onto my toes for my wheel. I really hope I'm not messing with the mic too much here. And then just slowly starting to press up. I typically come to the top of my head and then pressing the arms up. Press your chest forward so that you can really stretch across the chest. It's very intense. Woo! Let's breathe. And hold, hold, hold. And then slowly, releasing back down. Releasing the bridge if you were in bridge. And then just windshield wiping the knees side to side here, releasing the lower back. Probably made my bun all crazy, but that's okay. We are now going to reverse our wheel. So again, this is another posture that can seem quite daunting. So we are going to come into shoulder stand. If you haven't ever practiced shoulder stand and you don't feel safe doing it on your own, please don't do it. If you would like a family member or someone to come and spot you for it, just to make sure that you're doing okay with it, you can also come up against a wall with your feet flat and practice just lifting the hips so that you're over on the shoulders. With our shoulder stand, the number one rule is that you want to make sure that there's no pressure on your neck. I mean, your neck is there on the ground, so you are going to feel a little bit of pressure on the neck, but as long as your weight isn't on your neck, you want the weight in the shoulders. So coming up slowly for that, it's as if we're coming into a bridge. We can lift the bum and then start to kick up from there. Alternatively, you can just use the core to pull you up from here. Whatever's going to work best for you. I think the standard way you're quote unquote supposed to do it is by using the core. I personally like to come up into my bridge, wiggle my shoulders under, and then I like to get my hands under as if you're in a supported bridge. From here, I just kick my legs up. Now this is where I'm going to roll down because I just realized this is probably not great for the mic. Let me see where I can stick it. If you are like me and you are quite chesty,
you may feel like you're suffocating. Just really pressing into the shoulders to try and create a little bit of space. But obviously, there's only so much you can do there. So you will probably have that feeling a little bit, even if you're not supremely, chesty, you will probably likely still feel a little bit like like you're choking. I'm really making this sound attractive, aren't I? All right, let's see if that mic position is a little better. So as I said, I like to come up, use my hands. So kicking up, there's the cat, and then pressing the hips towards your chest. Bringing the toes up high. Can you even hear me? And then perhaps relaxing the arms down. This is very hard to talk in. Releasing the arms to the ground if you feel stable. Holding here for a moment. You can come into plow. So bringing your toes down to the ground. Again, making sure that you're not fully on your neck here. Kicking the legs back up high. And slowly releasing that down. Whew. I hope that worked and wasn't too loud. I apologize if it was. Didn't really think that through. Alrighty, we have done our shoulder stand. We are coming into a lovely little twist here. So releasing the arms out to the sides in a T, bringing the legs up at about a 90-degree angle, just dropping the legs over to one side, making sure that you keep that shoulder planted into the ground. The gaze can go over towards the hand that you're twisting away from. Breathing deeply into the belly, feeling that nice massage on the organs. And inhaling the head back to center, followed by the knees, dropping the knees to the other side, gazing over at that thumb. Breathing deeply through the nose. Inhaling the head back to center, followed by the knees. Just releasing that down. We're going to come into our fish pose here, so you can keep the knees bent up if you'd like, or you can straighten the legs out. You're going to come up onto your elbows. So I like to have my hands lined up right under my sacrum area, and we're just going to start to drop the head back. So with your fish pose, you do want to be balancing on the top of the head, so you might need to adjust the arms down. If you feel nice and comfortable, you can lift the arms up, perhaps making pistol grip fingers. If you'd like to lift your feet, you can do that as well. Maybe you want the feet bent. Maybe you want to use the hands to pull your chest up, just dropping the neck back, releasing across the throat. It's nice if you have a bun like I do. Nice and cozy. And just tucking the chin, releasing the back down, bringing up the feet so that we can untuck the tailbone. Nice and flat on the ground there. Coming into our happy baby, so reaching for the shins or the feet, pulling the knees into the armpits, perhaps rocking side to side. Sorry, I've got a cat hair in my nose. Maybe straightening one leg and then the other. Just wiggling out any last bits that you need to before we come into Shavasana. Getting those last movements out of the way. And when you're ready, just releasing into Shavasana. As always, if you feel safer taking Shavasana on your belly, you can do that. Maybe in fetal position. If you have a tender lower back, you can bring the knees together, feet out wide. Or you can just Come into the traditional Shavasana, extending the legs out long, allowing the toes to fall open, tucking the shoulders slightly to ensure that you're nice and open across the chest here. And just coming down to the ground, slowing down the breath. Allowing the body to release. Allowing the muscles to release. Noticing if the mind is particularly busy. And just knowing that any lists, any to-dos, they can wait. We've only got a few more minutes left on our mats. There's nothing pressing for this exact moment. Just take these last few moments for yourself. Let everything else wait. Perhaps deepening the breath. Just relaxing down. Allowing the body to settle. Allowing the mind to calm. Noticing when the mind begins to wander, just bringing it back to the body, to the breath. Lately I'm getting lost on you. You got me doing things I never thought I'd do. Never bled so much when I didn't have to. I'm giving up on a life lived after. Every day I'm a slave to the heartache, and you're wasting away every night. I don't want to leave you lonely, but I've run out of love this time. You know that I adore you, but I just can't get enough. Hope you'll be safe in the arms of another, 'cause I can't take the weight of your love. Lately I'm getting lost on you. You got me doing things I never thought I'd do. Never spent so much on a losing battle. Giving up on a life lived after. And every day I'm a slave to the heartache, and you're wasting away every night. I don't want to leave you lonely, but I've run out of love this time. You know that I adore you, but I just can't get enough. Hope you'll be safe in the arms of another, 'cause
I can't take the weight of your love. Beginning to deepen the breath, bringing small movements into the fingers and the toes, perhaps rolling the wrists and the ankle. When you're ready, just lifting the knees up and rolling over to your favorite side, the fetal position, just using the bottom arm as a pillow. Taking a moment here, allowing the body to process movement. And when it feels good, keeping the eyes closed or lowered, just using the hands to press you up, coming into a comfortable seated position. Bringing the hands to Anjali Mudra, heart center, and just bowing the head slightly. Taking a moment to feel gratitude for your body, for your mind, for yourself. Knowing that you are always worthy of being heard, being understood, and feeling safe whenever you feel the need to express yourself, to ask for the things that you need, knowing that you are deserving of whatever you need to make you feel good. Again, the chant for the throat chakra is hum. As always, you can chant with me if you feel comfortable doing so, or you can just listen to the sounds, the vibrations of the singing bowl of my voice. And while we chant here, just visualizing a beautiful blue light right in the center of the throat, warming the throat, alleviating any tension, any tightness, relieving any dryness, any blockages in the throat, and just feeling that knowledge that you can communicate yourself. You can express yourself exactly how you need to, whenever you need to. So just focusing on that beautiful blue light emanating from the throat and growing larger as we chant. Take a deep inhale.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.
Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this practice. I hope that you are feeling relief in the throat chakra if it was ailing you to begin with. I hope it wasn't too much of a disaster using the lapel mic for the first time, so please do let me know if it wasn't working. I'll obviously watch this video before I post it, so I might already know that for myself if it's muffled a lot. But I'm hoping it worked really well because the cats were being ridiculous today, so I'm hoping you didn't have to hear that. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week ahead. The next or last 2 videos in the chakra series will be coming on the next 2 Saturdays. As I have posted in my Instagram page and as well on Facebook, if you are in the Cayman Islands, Grand Cayman area, on Saturdays at 10 o'clock in the morning, I do a free beach yoga at Governor's Beach. So if you are in the area, please do come and join me for that. You can find that group on Facebook at Harmonious Beach Yoga, and of course always on Instagram as well at Harmonious Hippy. I so look forward to engaging with you guys on there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you can be notified whenever I post. I post every Saturday and occasionally during the week when the mood strikes. So please like, follow, subscribe, do all the things. I would really appreciate that so much. I am so happy that you were here with me today. I appreciate you guys so much. As always, message me, comment below, let me know if you have any questions, if you have any requests, if you just need some support, if you just want to say hi. I am always open to conversation that way. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're feeling good. I will see you next week for the crown chakra. Apologies, the third eye chakra. Wow. It wouldn't be me if I didn't misspeak, right? I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to be quiet now before I mess up any other words. Namaste.